Those who were in the first service saw a private baptism. It was unintended, but when I picked up a glass to drink water out of it, it exploded in my hand, and it drenched me and the first two chairs in the first row with water. So I dashed out of the room to find paper towels to dry myself off, and the worship team kept singing choruses until I got back. So I've dried out by now, so that's the good news. Secondly, I just wanted to say how much I appreciated the amazing job Pastor Jonathan did last Sunday in talking to you about providing a safe place to find faith. Just an outstanding message. I was out of state, but I was able to stream in. In fact, I got an email this week from one of the young ladies who used to be a college student here and then found a job here and worked here for a while. She's now on the other side of the globe, literally. And she still streams into our services on Sunday morning, and she's still connected with the Calvary families. How many think that's really cool? It's nice when technology works that way, isn't it? Also wanted to let you know, yesterday we said our final goodbye to Carolyn King, a far too young lady who lost her third battle against leukemia. This place was filled full of family and friends who all of us had to acknowledge just an incredible display of grace in the midst of pain and under pressure. She was an incredible young lady, and the truth is, it doesn't matter how long she would have lived. It would have been too few days for those of us who knew her. She was truly remarkable. And I did want to share some good news with you. We asked you to pray for Jen. She lives in Philadelphia, and a daughter of one of our families here in the church. And she had surgery. They removed a growth both from her abdomen and from her kidney. And the news that I had this morning is that she is now cancer-free. So that's really good news. Yeah, really good news. I used to run in the mornings with a group of people called the Morning Maniacs, and the reason we called ourselves that is because you had to be crazy to get up at the time of the day we did to go running. And it was a hodgepodge of people, a complete cross-section of every kind of job description that you can imagine. And quite honestly, a number of people in that group who would never show up in rooms like this. They were not attracted to any thoughts of religious origins. There was one guy in that group in particular who he had a drinking problem, and there was a fundraiser on a golf tournament fundraiser, and he was so anxious about the first tee shot that he was already 2 sheets to the wind before he swung the club the first time. He had to be escorted off of the golf course by security before the day was over because his behavior just deteriorated into incredible foolishness and dangerous behavior. It didn't just cost him a round of golf. His wife and his children also left him. He really struggled, and I remember not wanting to say anything to him in front of all the other group, so I left a note on his windshield, just said, you know, I know you're going through a difficult time in your life, and I'd be happy to listen if you want to talk. I've got 2 ears and they both work, so I'd be happy to. And he was very grateful for that, and we did. And he actually quit drinking. He started to put his life back together. His family came back home. That's why I'll never forget the day that some of our group from the Morning Maniacs brought alcohol into the morning session and then egged him on and urged him and badgered him until he drank again. And he did. And the battle started all over. They enjoyed getting a laugh out of him acting foolishly, but they weren't really there for him, were they? If you'd asked him, are they your friends, he would have said yes, but not really. Friendship is complicated. This is what I believe. I believe that you cannot get to the good places God prepared for you without good friends. I will say that again. You cannot get to the good places God prepared for you without good friends. There's this passage that says, a friend loves at how many times? All times. And a brother is born for a time of adversity. I heard one comedian say it this way, you picked your friends, but you're stuck with your relatives. And I'm very proud of you. Nobody said amen. The people you're related to are always going to be there for you. That's what it says, right? In adversity. When it comes right down to it, blood is thicker than water. And we do pull together when we absolutely have to. But there are some people who are not connected to us because of a bloodline, but because of a love line. They chose us and we chose them. And that commitment is very strong and it's very powerful. Our culture isn't really good at promoting these kinds of relationships. Our culture basically says that there are two essential kinds of relationships in this world, and the first kind is the sexual kind of relationship. And obviously, if it were not for human sexuality, we could not reproduce, and the human race would cease to exist. And then there's the family relationship. Infants can't care for themselves, so we need someone to care for them, and we need someone to help develop character in them. So we understand that those are essential. But when it comes to friendships, it's almost like our culture says, you can live without that. It's possible. And unfortunately, lots of people do. The Bible tells us something really quite radically different. Now, in the more ancient world, the culture was more a family culture. It's more of a traditional culture. And so all of the great storylines in that culture were about you fighting for the honor of your family and the future of your family. It was always about family. In modern culture, it's quite different than that. The stories that are attractive in our culture now are not necessarily about family, but about romance, about human sexuality. And so the big blockbuster hits are not usually the stories about fighting for your family, they're stories about fighting for the one you love. And that's kind of the migration that our culture has taken. Our culture makes it difficult for us to develop friendships. There's a pace of life at which we live and the pressure with which we are required to handle things, and it kind of squishes out the time that we need to develop healthy friendships. And even our technology, which seems to have so much potential of connecting us, winds up distracting us when we actually get together. So how are we to work through what the Bible talks about as this healthy and absolutely essential, life-giving, transforming relationship called friendship? Well, this is what I want you to see. The Bible reveals there are some ways that we can strengthen and build relationships. And the first is this: be consistent regardless of the circumstances. Be consistent regardless of the circumstances. I don't know if you've noticed this, but you don't actually make friends by wanting friends. Just think about it. If someone came up to you today and said, "Will you be my friend?" Really, what's the first thought you have, you know? You're going to make a lot of immediate assessments right there. And here's the other really fascinating thing, is that friends almost never talk about their friendship when they're together. They always talk about something else. That friendship is actually not born from us trying to seek a friend, but in doing something together with someone else that creates an environment where friendship can flourish. A coach of a sports team will not tell all of the people on the team, "I want you all to be friends by the time we're done with the season." Quite honestly, that's not the biggest and most important thing for a coach. Winning. That's what they're there to do. And so they do drills together, and they practice plays together, and they memorize strategies together, and they face opposition together, and they experience failure together, and they experience success together. And out of that togetherness comes these friendships that are forged in the midst of that can often go for their entire lives. So many times the reason that we struggle to find those life-abiding friendships is how we go about it. And if you're just looking for someone to be your friend, you're unlikely to find it. Friendship is not something you find when you seek it. Friendship is something you find when you're doing something else with someone else. And it becomes a very powerful thing. So friendships are about what you share, not what you're looking for, and friendships are about where you're going, not where you are right now. So the Bible reveals that there's these important things that strengthen and build friendships, and this first is to be consistent regardless of the circumstances. So what does that mean? Well, we looked at this verse once. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. The simple truth is that there are some people who are only available for friendship with others as long as everything is going fine in their own lives. If they feel relatively strong, if they feel reasonably successful, if they have a little extra cash in their pocket, then they're available to get together with friends. But if they feel like they're being defeated by life, like they're not keeping up with it, or they're resource challenged, they'll tend to separate. And so when the times are bad, they'll tend to withdraw. And this passage says that a friend finds themselves a way to be available even if they're not feeling like life is working for them. And by the way, sometimes we actually create distance between us and someone who is struggling as well. We see them having difficulty or not being able to keep up, and so we just want to create distance because we don't know what to say to them or how to help them. The Bible says that a true friend is not just there during good times, but they're available anytime. Look what it says here. It says, one who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Simple truth is that if we have the wrong friends, it can ruin our life. And this is a great passage here. It says, seldom set foot in your neighbor's house, too much of you, and they will hate you. You didn't know that was in the Bible, did you? And some of you are going to print that off and put it on your door this week. I know you. Do you know why we laugh at that? It's because we never think we're the people who's too much in somebody else's house. We just know somebody who's been too much in our house. Sometimes we suffocate friendships by demanding time that has nothing to do with doing something together. We just want to be together. And that often works against us. It often does not accomplish what we hope that it will. So we can learn to be around even when it's difficult. Don't you want a kind of friend who is there even if life isn't working well for them or if it's not working well for you? None of us want the kind of friends who are only available when things are going well. The second way we can build and strengthen our relationships is to be aware of what the other person is going through, to be aware of what the other person is going through. Look at this great passage in Proverbs 25. It says, like one who takes away a garment on a cold day, or like vinegar poured on a wound. I don't exactly know what that feels like, but I'm pretty sure I don't want to find out. Is one who sings songs to a heavy heart. That someone is going through a difficult season in their life and their heart is heavy and they're weighed down, and someone comes along and they think that if they act happy around them, it will cheer them up. It almost never works. What we communicate to them is that they don't have a good reason to feel the way they feel, and they should change their behavior around us. And the Bible says that when we do that, when we act all happy around people who are sad, it's like taking a cloak away from a person on a cold day. They just get colder and colder, or like pouring vinegar into a wound. It just makes the hurt all the worse. And we need to be wise about this. We need to be aware of what people are going through. Or how about this? Like a maniac shooting flaming arrows of death. How many think that sounds pretty bad? What is that like? Like a maniac shooting flaming arrows of death is the one who deceives their neighbor and says, I was only joking. See, we're not aware of what the other person is going through. Or how about this? If anyone loudly blesses their neighbor early in the morning, it will be taken as a, you've seen people, they haven't had their coffee yet. They don't really walk, they waddle. They're just trying not to fall down and make some progress. Not all the synapses are firing yet. And you come along and you go, good morning! And they might smile, but they're not thinking nice things about you. They're not. Most of the neighborhoods I live in the morning, we don't even try to say anything. We just wave. It's quiet, and we won't hurt anybody. See, a friend does not ignore what another person is going through. If their heart is broken, we don't move away from them, and we don't try to change their behavior just to make us more comfortable. And if a friend is rejoicing, something good happened in their life, we don't try to rain on their parade. A friend doesn't ignore what you're going through, and they respond to you based on what they've observed about you. Here's another way to kind of build and strengthen our friendships. Care more about the person than about your need for them. Care more about the person than about your need for them. Great passage in Proverbs 27 where it says, better is open rebuke than hidden love. Wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses. We have to be willing to speak the truth to our friends. And sometimes that will not be easy for them to hear. And if your main concern is that they will stop being your friend, you're already stopped being theirs. Because you won't tell them what they need to hear. You will only speak what will keep them close to you, because you need them more than you want them to be healthy and wise. If you're afraid to speak truth to your friend, you're not really being a friend. A friend doesn't hide the truth. A friend finds a way to speak the truth in love. People who let you head into trouble without saying anything to you, they're not helping you. If you're part of a life group, you know that life groups begin with a very short, like 3-minute video that I do to kind of focus the conversation for the session together. And so we create those videos here in the facilities. And so I was out one day for lunch with a friend, and I came back, ran in, we shot the video, it was quick, came back up to my office. A few minutes later, there's a knock on the door. And it was Pastor Steve, and I said, what's up? And he said, we got to shoot the video again. So what happened? Did the equipment fail? Or he said, nope. He says, you got a piece of spinach right in your teeth there. And he said, we need to shoot that over again. So I removed the spinach, and we shot it over. I am so glad he said something to me rather than letting 200 people this week just laugh up a storm looking at that, or be so distracted by what they're seeing they can't hear what I'm saying. And that's what friends do. Friends will speak the truth. It may hurt, but their intention is not to hurt you. And the truth will not harm you. Their goal is to help you. By the way, there are ways to speak the truth in love. So, we also need to learn how to be for people. Be for people. Our world is full of voices that are against. Let's be for people. Don't be neutral. Be for people. Don't be against. Be for people. When you are for someone, it reveals to them that you value them. And this is not as hard as you think it is. Just ask yourself, if I was in their situation, what would I want? And then advocate for that. Help them with that. Because that's what friends do. By the way, I do want to tell you this. The more successful you are in life, the harder it is to find people who will speak truth to you. By association, they benefit. Their status is increased, or maybe they have access to residual resources that kind of flow from the revenue stream that you're capable of producing. And so they'll just come alongside, and they'll never really challenge you because they want that status and they want that access to resources. The more successful you are in life, the more intentional you have to be about surrounding yourself with people who aren't there for what you can give them, but they're willing to speak the truth to you. It's a challenging thing. And the last point I'd like to focus on today is that if we want to build and strengthen our relationships, our friendships, we need to work to make the other person more effective in life. We want to work to make the other person more effective in life. This is what it says in Proverbs 27. It says, perfume and incense bring joy to the heart, and the pleasantness of a friend springs from their heartfelt, what's the next word? Advice. Advice. When someone is giving us advice, it's an indication that they think we're missing information. And their goal is to try to help us. Put another way, in Proverbs 27, it says this, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. For iron to sharpen iron, it means that you don't automatically agree with everything the other person thinks or says, or that you have the exact same view of all things in life. Can I tell you this, please? Hear my heart on this. If all you do is look for people who agree with you about everything, you are going to have a very small circle of friends. And our culture is not good about this. Our culture thinks you can't be my friend unless you agree entirely with me. First of all, that's not healthy. Second of all, that's not biblical. It's insanity. If we have to insist that everyone thinks exactly like us, all we're going to do is argue and push people away. And if it's more important for you to be right, then you will have no friends. That's just how it is. Some people think that it's their God-given job in life to get everybody to think like they do. It is not. How many here are capable of forming your own opinion? How many need someone else to help you do that? I just want to check. Okay. Of course we can form our own opinion. My wife and I have been married for 30 years, and I can speak with complete authority and say we don't think alike on everything. And by the way, that doesn't have to be a source of tension. That can actually be a source of interesting conversation. We used to take trips down to see Sue's folks when they lived in Florida, and we would leave at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night and drive all night long, 21 hours nonstop to get there. And somewhere between 2 and 3 in the morning, I would get really tired. And that's when Sue would start sharing some of her views with me. Wake me right up. One time we went for a little romantic bed and breakfast getaway, and so we went to this place, really nice place. The food was really good, and we went to this play. We went to see a play in a theater with live actors, and we went, and so we went and we watched the play. The theater was beautiful, and the lines were well written, and the actors did a beautiful job in the acting, but I hated the play, and my wife loved the play. And so we went out for dessert afterwards. Yeah. And here's what I will tell you. We talked about why we thought what we thought without trying to change what the other person thought. And when you do this, this is very amazing. You begin to understand the other person. And here's what's tragic is that there are people who will be married for 30 years, but they only have 1 year experience 30 times. They've never really gone deeper. If your goal in life is to find a mate that will be exactly like you, buy a mirror. That's the only way you're ever going to be happy. But we are incredibly complex creatures, and you can spend an entire lifetime getting to know someone, and you will not yet plumb the depths of the complexity of how incredibly wonderfully made they are. One of the big mistakes people make is they discard what could be phenomenal friendships just because someone thinks differently than you do. Don't throw away those wonderful friendships. Learn to understand and learn to help them understand you. Now, if you do want friendship, there's two tendencies that people have. One tendency is they just put all their bad stuff out there. They just want to put it up front. And so they tell them all the ways they failed, all the ways they're miserable, all the mistakes they've made. Just they are one hot mess. And I think their goal is if they will accept me like this, then I'll have nothing to hide the rest of my life. And that's, don't do that. When all we do is show our weaknesses, we create distance. But there's another way that we repel people, and that's when all we do is show our strengths. When we come across as being the authority in all things, when we think we have all the answers and we've made all the right decisions, when we think that we're the fountainhead of wisdom, and we're going to impart it now to those who desperately need it. You'll create a lot of distance there too. The truth is that no one here in this room has made a mistake in every decision in their life. There are some things we've gotten right and some things we've gotten wrong. And when we come alongside others and we're willing to be real, there are some competencies you have, and that's wisdom to share. And there are some challenges that you've faced, and you've got some scars to show it. And when you can be real, who you really are, that's when you make your best connections. So here's what I want you to see. Your vulnerability is what makes your strength available to another. It's when we're willing to not only acknowledge, yes, I did do that okay, but I also struggle with this. That makes our strength available to someone else because they feel like you are a real person, and you always feel like you can open up to and receive from someone who is real. And we're not good at this. We spend so much of our time trying to manage the impressions of people. If you pretend to be someone you're not, then you will always know that the people who are hanging around you don't really like you. They just like the character you're playing. And we never get past it. We never feel secure in those kind of relationships. So you don't have to pretend to be someone that you're not, but you also shouldn't assume that you will never change. This is what I want you to know. As formative as your family was in your growing up, your friends will be more transformative than your family as an adult. Your friends will have a larger influence on who you become than who your family did growing up. And so we need to cultivate healthy relationships. And we need to be willing to acknowledge when we've made mistakes. And if someone is going through a difficult time, you can go alongside of them and say, you're doing this all wrong. You're being an idiot. Why don't you do it this way? Very few people accept that well. But if you go alongside and you say, you know what, I think I have an idea of what you're going through. I actually went through something similar in my life. And I made a couple of decisions, and it didn't work out so well. Let me tell you what I did and why it didn't work. Or maybe I made a couple of decisions, and I was so fortunate because it did work out better. Let me share some of my experience in that. That conversation is life-giving to someone because you're sharing from your experience rather than making an accusation about how they're messing it up. And I have to tell you, our culture's not good at this. People don't let each other complete sentences anymore. Just turn on the television. Just people shout all over each other. And I have to tell you, I wish the church could say that we're better at this than the culture. We're not. Some of the biggest offenders for running roughshod all over someone else and trying to impose our opinion is religious environments. And this is the fascinating thing, is that when Jesus came and he walked and talked with his disciples, he did not say, you are my servants, you must do what I say. He said, you are my friends, and that's why I tell you and share you the things that I do. It's a completely different kind of relationship. Look at what he says in John 15. My command is this, love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. No, you don't actually have to die for all of your friends, but I will tell you some things will have to die, and that will be some agenda items in your calendars and some priorities. If you make friends the least important thing in your life, you won't have many of them. I have to tell you, I consider myself an intensely loyal friend. If I am your friend, what you would have to do to break that friendship is terrifying. But I also have to tell you, I am not good at initiating what keeps friendships healthy. So I do not do a great job of initiating, keeping that thing going. And it is a weakness of mine. And there are people who speak into my life and help me with that. There are friends that while I am loyal to them, their leadership in creating opportunities for us to stay connected has been life-giving to me. See, we all have something to learn in the friendship department. We all need good friends. Now, you can be a good friend, but you won't be a perfect friend. Nobody gets this right all the time, and that's okay. Remember, this is a safe place to find friends. So take some information from what we've already shared today. Learn how to be a little bit more transparent rather than pretending. Learn how to connect with people emotionally, not just providing information to them. And be available even if it's not convenient to you. It's astonishing what a difference that will make. Now, Jesus, he actually did lay down his life. He didn't just change his agenda for us. He gave his life for us. The thought of us being eternally defined by our faults and our failures was unacceptable to him. He couldn't let that happen. The thought that we might spend an entire life and never know the potential that God had invested in us was unacceptable to him. And so he laid down his life. He gave up his life so that we could get his life. That's who God is. That's the kind of friend he is. And when you have that kind of friendship with Jesus, which shows us what friendship can be, then you are empowered to become the kind of friend you could be. And that changes everything. So, are you going to allow yourself to be open? Here's the thing. You don't just wander around and try to find somebody, will you be my friend? So how does Calvary work this out? Well, there's a few things we'll do. For example, we're here today, and like you're actually sitting next to people. You can get to know people who you're sitting next to. Just the fact that we're here to do something else, to worship God, allows us to make a connection. When you are before service or after service hanging out in the lobby with a cup of coffee and a bagel or a donut, and you're having conversations with people, that's an opportunity to develop a deeper relationship. When you're discovering your spiritual gifts or using them to serve others, it can have a huge impact. For example, yesterday, the brand new ministry is starting, and they did a trial run of this ministry yesterday. There's some guys in our church who just know that there are single-parent moms who don't have the resources in order to maintain their vehicles. So they know an oil change is a luxury to them. And so there's a group of guys in our church who decided that what they would do is that they would contact some single-parent moms and offer free oil changes for them, and we do it right here in the parking lot of our church facility. And so yesterday, there was some single-parent moms that came in, and they did that, and the guys all got together, and this is really cool. Like, we were going to write the check for all of this, and there was one company that decided to donate the oil to us. Isn't that cool? Yeah, and then there's another company that said they would take the used oil, so we don't have to pay for that to be taken. They actually use it to heat a facility that they have, and so they would take that. And then there's another company that gave us discounts on the filters, and there's a whole bunch of real cool things that's going to happen in the future on this. I'll talk to you about that another time. But here's the thing. If you ask that group of guys, I want you to get together and see if you can develop a friendship with somebody. Like most guys, they're going to go, yeah, I got something else to do today. But they were here underneath cars, and taking oil out and putting oil in, and changing filters, and watching this happen more than once yesterday as tears streamed down the face of a single-parent mom who was so grateful that someone would even think to do this for them. When you serve others, it's astonishing how strong your friendships can become. Let's bow our heads this morning. Let's access the wisdom of Scripture today. Let's try to be available. I know our lives are busy. They are. I don't think there's a lazy person in this room. Our calendars are full. Our days are packed. We're tired at the end of all of them. But if we have no time for friendship, there's something in us that cannot become what God intended. There's great benefit in just noticing what other people are going through. Something impressive happens in you when you care more about what someone is going through than what you need. Something remarkable happens inside of us when we try to help others become what God intended them to become. And in the midst of all of this, without even really trying, other than just to help, our hearts are knitted together with others. And we find ourselves looking forward to the next time we'll be with that person. And God will use that person, not only to encourage us and to support us, but to help transform us. Because God is not only a faithful friend to us, part of his plan for our lives is to surround us with people that can also become faithful friends to us. At the end of the day, it will always be the faithfulness of a person that is the most attractive thing about them. And God is faithful to us, and he wants to work that faithfulness into us and through us so that all lives are transformed by his grace. Father, would you help us, please? Learn to trust the incredible friendship you offer, and learn to open our lives to the kinds of friends that you've placed around us. We thank you for that in Jesus' name. Amen. Would you stand with me this morning?